Okay, so now as we're setting the teeth, remember that you're setting them in 3D, so you're looking at 3 dimensions of spatial position. The first thing I want to do is I want to make sure they're lined up here with the midline that I drew. I check that first. Then I check to see that they're nice and flared. When I look down this, I want to be able to see this line here, and I actually draw a line on the incisal ledge so I can see the nice curvature. You want to see it follow this curvature, and you also want to see this line without seeing much of the facial surface of these teeth. So I get them set up to where I think they're about right. Then what I do is I take them down and I'll press them down to make sure that they're touching the occlusal table. So you want to make sure that that's what another reason why it's important to get this thing nice and sturdy. So when this wax is soft, you can go ahead and press it down, and they'll kind of push the teeth up into where they need to be, or into the correct vertical height without altering this. So a lot of times when you're setting it and you push these down, or when you're getting the right flare, facial lingual flare, these teeth tend to, to invert like this. So when they're sitting on the occlusal table, you want to make sure that basically the middle portion of the tooth is resting on the occlusal table. If you notice, the contact between the occlusal is right around the middle portion of these teeth. And also, you should have your PowerPoint open and look and see, do these teeth look the same as they do in the PowerPoint? Are they nice and angled? They should kind of basically, they shouldn't be totally straight up, but they should be mostly straight up on the distal edges, and then have a nice even embrasure in the central portion. The other thing is, when you look at it from the side, you want to make sure that these facial surfaces are pretty close to vertical. You don't want them tilted too far in this way, so basically you don't want them tilted too far lingually, and you don't want them flared out too much. And that's where this line helps. So if you line the incisal edge so it's inside the inside of the land, and you follow this curvature of the land, you're going to be okay. And one of the other things that you need to make sure of before you even ever start, I know we forgot to talk about this, is to make sure that when you set these up on the jig, make sure that these line up well, because a lot of the jigs are off, and sometimes you'll have, your 2 casts set off like that. They can be set off like this or off like this. And you just want to make sure that they line up nice and well, because it's going to save you a lot of headache in the long run. I know a lot of people that did complete setups and had to redo them and remount and redo their setups because these were so far off. So just make sure these are on as good as possible, or as accurately as possible, and then we can move on. So I think one of the important things when you're doing a setup is cleanliness. Not only does it make setting the teeth easier, but it also saves you time at the end when you're rushing to clean up, because you're always tweaking stuff until the very last minute. So you don't want to have to clean up a whole lot of mess as well. So one of the things you want to really important to do is keep wax off the surfaces of the teeth as much as possible. What I do is, after I set all the teeth, I take the wax spatula and I'll just kind of clean up the area, make sure that it's nice and clean, and you can see that once I flame that's going to be almost ready to go. So just be sure to keep it clean. So now we'll move on to the laterals. And again, we're going to heat up some wax, and I do 2 at a time. What I'll usually do is I'll heat up enough wax so I can make a ball, and then break it into 2, one for each tooth. So 2 balls, 2 teeth. And it's okay if you use a little bit of extra wax when you're putting these on, because again, we clean up, and we clean it up after. So again, one of the first things I want to do after I get these teeth set about where I want them, and as you do this more, you'll kind of get used to how you want the teeth, And so you'll set them closer to where they're supposed to be initially. So I'm going to loop these down to make them easier to work with.